Welcome to Ioni La Dolce Vita collection. It is definitely a collection that has a vacation sort of vibe to it. If you see the packaging in store, has that like easy breezy sort of thing going on. It feels a little poolside, beach bag makeup. Throw something on while pretending that your at home iced coffee is really like an espresso in Italy, but lots of like blues and yellows and like vacationy, summery sort of imagery, right? This collection, for the most part, is cohesive. Nothing feels random per se. It's a little bit heavy on the blush options, but that's okay. But for the most part, you kind of have that effortless, like I pack light, but I still look pretty cute sort of thing going on here. As we always get with Dollar Tree products, there are some things that work better than others, of course, with some standouts. And I do want to make note this is not 100% the full collection. They came out with 2 brow tattoo pens and a clear brow gel, which is a repeat. I've reviewed all of those before. I have a post on testing all of the Ioni brow products I could find at the time. So you can, check that out if you would like to see that review. But I didn't want to buy them again. And there is also a collection of false eyelashes with this. And as I always say, I own too many of them, so I am personally choosing to skip those. But I will get right into the products here. So we have a couple of setting sprays, and first is the Dewy Glow Setting Mist. And I'll kind of talk about these together because it's the same packaging, so there's nothing wrong with the bottle. You get a nice fine mist. These are both going to set your makeup perfectly well. Now, the Dewy Glow Setting Mist, I don't find that it is changing the finish of the makeup. Whatever finish you have when you go to spray this on, you are going to maintain that. It also does not help or hurt wear time. It didn't do anything there. I will say I noticed throughout the day of wear time some shininess, some oil production in the T-zone. So it's not that it's creating like a dewy finish, but it is making me just a little bit oily. So, neutral on this, 4 out of 5 stars. And pretty similar story for the mattifying mist as well. This one is designed for you to have to shake it before you use it. The product does separate. But same thing, I don't think that it's doing anything for makeup wear time. I'm actually very on the fence with this one. I tested it a couple additional times. I was trying to figure out if it was hurting wear time a little bit. It's very hard to say. It also doesn't change the finish of makeup. So whatever finish you have, again, that is what you maintain. And it also made me a bit oily in the T-zone as well. So I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. We also got some drops in this collection. So we have bronzing drops, and the shade here is Sun Kissed. And I was really surprised by these. I would say the shade is spot on to other bronzing drops that I do own. It's not muddy, it's not orange. The formula just blended very well and didn't remove any coverage in the various tests that I did. And it dries down, but it keeps that nice glow to it. And it's not like a glittery sort of glow. It's metallic in a way. But once you combine it with your other products, it does look really fresh and healthy on the skin. Now, this is like most bronzer drops on the market. It's not drops. It squeezes out like a cream, but that is fine. The tube packaging that they put it in is really easy to work with. And it wears pretty well. I use this product through multiple tests, so I start by just using it as my bronzer for the day on the high points of my face. If it faded at all, it was really hard to tell. It was just barely noticeable if that occurred. I also tried it, instead of using primer, using that as my base for my makeup. And what I found is that glow still was able to come through the foundation, and I thought it was really beautiful. At the time that I tested this, I was using a foundation that was pretty well expired on its last legs, and it wasn't applying as well as it used to. And I thought it was like this bronzing drop sort of situation as a primer was actually making it look smoother and go on a bit better. Now, the downside is this product, putting all over my face did end up getting me more oily and shiny in the T-zone than normal. But outside of that, it didn't hurt makeup wear time. and you're already glowy with this product. I also use it as a foundation mix-in. So when I do that, the glow is not as dramatic as when I use it as a primer. But it didn't really make me as oily this way. So it plays a lot better with oilier combo skin if it's mixed into a product than it being just slapped all over the face. So I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I think that it does its job. It's great for $1.25. Yeah, I don't know what else to say there. There's also 2 lip and cheek balms, and these might look very familiar to you. So you're definitely going off of some like high-end makeup merit vibes here, but the entire component, the whole idea, looks exactly like the various Wet n Wild blushes they've put out in their limited edition collection. So Winnie the Pooh, Disney Villains, and the 2025 Fantasy Makers. They had to have been using the same component, maybe the same factory. I don't actually know. But I had tried these, of course, on the lips and the cheeks, and I'll tell you about the lips now. So it has a taste, which also does not translate. Well, the smell isn't good. It doesn't translate to a good taste, is what I'm trying to say here. To me, it smells like baby wipes, so that's not great, and you don't want that in your mouth. It also dries out the inner part of your lips just a little bit, and with the product being like flat and wide, it's really hard to get precision if you're going to use it as a lip product. Like you're probably not going to pick it up and put it straight onto the lips, but more so use your finger or a brush to apply. So I use my finger to get more control. Now the shades themselves, the formula, it is very buildable. It's comfortable outside that little bit of dry out that happens. So if you want to get like full bold color, you can do that. It has a satin finish. It is going to wear off. But it wears off in a pretty like normal way. It doesn't get too crazy patchy or anything like that. But then on the cheeks, I would say it blends very easily. It doesn't remove your coverage underneath. And once it's blended into the skin, it takes on more of like a cream to powder feel. It's not tacky. It leans more on the matte side, matte but not flat, very natural looking. And it's going to fade a little bit during wear. So if you're like me and you purposely put it on very heavy-handed, that's going to work in your favor here. But as I find with almost every lip and cheek kind of duo product, I always tend to like these more for the cheek than I do for the lips. And these come in 2 shades, Nude Peach and Natural Mauve. So I gave them 4 out of 5 stars. They're just not the best for the lips and not something that I would really reach for in that way. There's another type of drop in this collection. I've personally not heard of a drop like this before. I've definitely heard of bronzing drops. These are called brightening drops, and the shade is Gold Radiance. I would say that it's not gold at all. It is very more like pale champagne, almost white, but they are much more subtle. The glow is so much more subtle than the bronzing drops. So I tested these as a few ways. I tried them as a highlighter on the face, on the high points of the face, just like you would any other highlighter. I tried mixing into foundation, and I tried it as my base, as my primer for the day, so similar to the bronzing drops. So as a highlighter, they're very easy to build, blend. They dry down pretty quickly, and it's a nice lit from within kind of glow without glitters. It's not greasy, glossy, that kind of look. It's a soft radiance. If you're looking for like bam kind of highlighter, you're not going to get that with this. Very soft, and it's the same packaging as the bronzer, which I did enjoy. Mixed into foundation, you are going to get the most subtle glow. It's not really doing a lot, but similar to the bronzing drops, makes me a bit oily in the T-zone, although it makes me more oily than the bronzing drops mixed into the foundation. I also thought, and you would think this is really the same formula as the bronzer, just a different color. I don't really get it, but it looked to me like mixed into my foundation, it was making it look heavier on the skin, but it didn't alter the wear time. And just, keep this in mind. Maybe it's obvious, but it's going to lighten your foundation a bit versus bronzing drops. They're going to darken it a bit, of course. And then as the base test, primer test, I really didn't like it at all. It wasn't like the bronzing drops in any way, shape, or form. The glow did not come through. Just lightened my skin a bit. it really didn't make me go, wow, like, this is a beautiful base like I was feeling on the day that I used the bronzer. Again, makes me oily in the T-zone. I thought overall that the makeup just didn't hold up as well as it could have in this test. So if you really just want some glow, you don't mind some color, just go with the bronzing drops. So I gave these a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to put them in the bad bin just yet. I'm wondering if there is something that I might find a use for them for, or maybe they'll work better with a different foundation. So they'll probably sit around for a year or two and then I'll end up getting rid of them. That's what that really means, but I carry hope for that. There's 2 liquid eyeshadows in this collection. They're called Light Shifting Eyeshadow and Pink Olive Shift and Teal Purple Shift. I have not had a very good run with liquid eyeshadows from Dollar Tree. You've not gotten all of those reviews yet, but I have tested them. And I would say these, as well as the Be Pure, I can't remember the name right now, but they're like the Aurora or like the color shifting ones. These are going to be the best. The liquid eyeshadow at Dollar Tree is very, very hit or miss. And definitely stars of the collection here. So this formula, it dries down completely, but you get enough time to work with it. I really like the size and shape of the applicator. I didn't feel the need to pull out any additional tools. I usually use like a flat eyeshadow brush with liquid eyeshadow, but not with these. And one thing to note is the first layer will look kind of patchy, like maybe it's not fully sticking in particular areas of the eye, but putting on a second layer fixed that and didn't mess anything up. And you can really see the color shift. So there's really, with that teal purple, you can see a lot going on there dimensionally, like pink, purples, browns, blues. I really couldn't get the swatches to do that on the arm, like in my photo, but I was really impressed on the eye. But of course, your eyelid is not flat, it is rounded, so it could be, swatching them on the arm is always a different animal. I don't care, people will argue that all day long, but it's always different. Doesn't irritate my eyes. I've used Dollar Tree liquid eyeshadows that have burned while I'm putting them on. Like, there was no issue here. And they wear great. They last all day. They don't crack, crease, fade, none of it. I want you to keep in mind that I always use an eyeshadow primer. But, they are definitely the best. The swatches came out kind of patchy, and they're not that patchy, and it doesn't bother me on the eye. And again, I think it's because you're working with a smaller surface area, and there's eyeshadow primer on. The area is rounded versus my arm. I have no primer, nothing like that going on. Flat, we have arm hairs, all sorts of different things to consider there. So I think they're good for what they are, especially if you want to use them as a topper, you want to pair them with something else, is really going to help that out. If you personally think that they're too patchy for your liking, it just didn't bother me. There are also 2 cheek tint cream mousse blushes here that come in like the squeeze tube with the wand situation. And these have buildable pigment, but they have a smaller applicator. And I'm not going to hoot and holler about that, because I would tell you that in this case, it helps you to get some good control so you don't put on too much at once. So the applicator size, depending on your preference, is going to be a pro or a con. The formula does blend and build very easily. It's not going to remove coverage underneath. I'm a little bit confused by the mousse claim. So they end up being matte with a little bit of tackiness to them, and they fade a little bit. They have this ridiculously strong flower scent. They smell like floral flowers. I don't know why, because nothing else in the collection does. And the shades Natural Rose and Taupe Sienna. I hate Taupe Sienna. I put on so much of this damn product. There is no color payoff on the skin. It's really not a blush color. You'll see it in the swatches. It looks more like a honey-toned, like, lip color. And that one also didn't have the same formula as Natural Rose. For it being called a mousse, it was like oily and shiny and like oil slicky. I just hated it. So I put it on and I photographed it for you all, and then I immediately grabbed Natural Rose and put that on over top, because it would have looked like I put no blush on, and I am just not having that. So Taupe Sienna is out in the bad bin. I'm really going to put both of these in the bad bin, because I just don't foresee myself reaching for them again, given that I have so much blush and these are a bit gentler in terms of pigmentation. I have to make some cuts somewhere. You can't possibly keep all the stuff that you review. I gave these a 3 out of 5 stars. There's also tinted lip balm in this collection. I love the packaging. It really reminds me of or lipsticks from CoverGirl. Were they called Lip Stories or was that Sephora? But both lipstick brands, CoverGirl and the Sephora collection had this packaging that was like all done up with these fun designs. That's what this reminds me of. And this is kind of like waxy paper, but not in a bad way though. I just love the design of these. And they are flavored to match the shade names. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to sound so stupid, but it's like I looked it up because when I put this on my lips, I'm like, this tastes like wine. I'm not even a wine drinker. And it turns out it is a type of grape that is used for wine. Sangiovese. It's the only time I'm going to pronounce that. And the other shade is fig. So as you can imagine, the wine one, right, tastes like grapes and wine. The fig one tastes like figs, but it has much less flavor than the wine one. They both have a tint. It's very sheer. The level of shine is low. So these aren't like a glossy sort of lip balm. They look more like a traditional lip balm in their finish. And once that product wears off, you're going to feel it just a little bit left behind on the lips, conditioning a little bit, and it will soften the dead skin and actually help it to come off. So it's pretty nice formula-wise if you're looking to kind of get that like lip balm skincare, but a little bit of pigment on the makeup side sort of product. Cute packaging. They have it going on. So 5 out of 5 stars there. So overall, the La Dolce Vita collection is pretty well thought out. They're giving you that vacation kind of inspired packaging. It's matching the products that you actually get inside. The biggest standouts for me are, of course, the bronzing drops, the lip and cheek balm for the cheeks, and the light shifting eyeshadows. I'll be keeping most of everything here. I'll keep the setting sprays too. They're middle of the road. Since they're so small, they're very easy to use up. I'll put them into my daily routine, and they'll be gone within like 2 months, if that. The taupe sienna blush, very disappointing. That is gone. But, other than that, I think, in terms of what you expect for $1.25 from Dollar Tree, this is pretty good. And a lot of it's going to come down to personal preference. So there's things that I don't like. They're kind of meh for me and what I look for on a daily basis. But this might be exactly what you want. I don't know. So there's nothing wrong with trying to find the hidden gems out there. And this is definitely less than a trip to Sephora, a trip to Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, all the things. You can get so much more here. And that is it. So those are all of the really big collections right now outside of the LA Colors one that I'm still missing 2 pieces from. Haven't found the Ioni Cowgirl yet, so when I do, I'll bring that to you. And this is probably going to be the last piece, or one of the last pieces that I do for a while. We're finally, maybe next week, moving into a place where I'll be able to do all my outside yard work and stuff that needs to be done before Memorial Day. So I'm going to have to obviously take a step away from content creation in order to make the time to get that work done. The window is closing, but it's been so crappy here weather-wise. I usually spend the whole month of May, doing this task and breaking it into batches so I don't feel so overwhelmed by all the work that needs to be done. But we just don't have that opportunity this time with how it's all playing out. So it is what it is. Maybe by then I'll be able to find the Cowgirl collection and, some other neat stuff like the little Be Pure, like duo eyeshadow round things I keep seeing on Instagram. So it is what it is there. But as usual, thank you for listening. And I will see you, whenever that next opportunity rolls around.